Welcome back to 5-5 Sports, where we break down the week's coverage of everything that's going on in the world of sports, including the NBA and NHL playoffs, which have continued being, I'd say, a fairly big success being in the bubble. I think they've had a lot of entertainment, so credit to them. We'll break down what's going on there in just a minute. And we'll touch a little bit on the NFL, what's going on. There's been some breaking stuff there. Earl Thomas, now free agency cut from Matthews, Baltimore Ravens. So we'll discuss a little bit about that and maybe where he'll end up. And in general, we just have a lot to break down, starting with the NHL. There's been a lot happening. A lot of the first round matchups concluded, and the second round is just underway now. A few games want to have been played. So, Matthew, I'll start with you. Let's start with the Philadelphia series, Philadelphia, New York. Philadelphia is down 1-0, courtesy of a 4-0 loss to the New York Islanders. How did you see that game playing out? What went wrong for the Flyers?
I think our offense is failing to get anything done. I think this is going on the entire playoffs. Like our top players, Giroux, Couturier, Kevin Hayes, Charles Konechny, they can't keep scoring goals. Like Hayes have maybe one goal, but like other than that, he needs to get more as well. I think people are undermining the fact that Giroux, he has been at least making plays. Like Voracek got all his goals on play set by Giroux, but even still, he's still the captain, and just those assists alone aren't going to cut it for him. And also our defense. Our defense has been extremely disappointing. We're leaving Carhartt to dry and hoping that Carhartt would bail us out like game after game. And as a young goalie, even though he is a great young goalie, you can't always expect that of him. Alain Vigneault's made some questionable line changes, playing Giroux on the third line instead of with Voracek Couturier where he usually thrives. And pulling Carhartt 7 minutes, 7 minutes left of the third period, and instantly Islanders get a goal. I don't know what that thought process was. I think he was trying to spark the offense, but it just came off, especially since they got a goal literally right after, it just came off as like a bad decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think there's not much I really want to say about this game. Like I was very livid afterwards, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
just cool down now. I do think if Flyers could play better and like how we expect Flyers to play based on how they've been playing this season, I think this series could be a close series. I think Flyers can't take it to 7. I'm not gonna say it's gonna win in 7, but I think if Flyers play better, they can take it 7. But if we play another game like we did last night, I'd say it's a sweep for Islanders because I don't see how maybe if Flyers take a game, but I don't see how Flyers can play the way they did or even play the way they did against Montreal. Like we got lucky against Montreal. Montreal was playing better than us for a lot of those games. And we somehow got to win because Montreal can't really score. Islanders, even though their offense isn't the best in the league, with the system that Barry Trotz has, allows the team to score. And they have even greater defense. Like, I don't see how, if Flyers themselves can't score, I don't see how we can take a game.
Yeah, the Washington Capital biggest regrets is going to be not paying Barry Trotz money he deserves. Excellent head coach, and you see with the Islanders what he's done in 2 years. Last year swept Pittsburgh. This year sweeping Washington. So that was a good precedent from Barry Trotz.
Game 5.
Yes. Sorry, Game 5. Yes. But you see how well the Islanders are playing. They them or I mean Tampa Boston's going to be a close series either way. Boston without Tuukka Rask is going to be incredibly tough. We'll talk about that series and break it down a little bit further. But the Islanders, man, I think they have to win this series just the way they're playing. It's not disrespect to Philadelphia, but I probably told you a few times, and I probably said it on one of the podcasts we could probably find. I told you Philadelphia is not going to make it past the second round. Whoever they'll play, they'll be in the first round. But it's something with not having superstars in your lineup really hurts you in the playoffs. And when you really struggle to get that goal, and when you're looking for that goal and you look up and down Philadelphia's roster, you can't really pinpoint and say, he's going to get me a goal when he's on the ice. And there's not that guy that really gives you that confidence, I would say, as a Philadelphia fan. Claude Giroux, who was a terrific player, I think, really lost an edge this year, and there's a reason he's on the third line. Should he be on the third line? No, just out of pedigree and the fact that he has got it done in the past. And if you're looking at Philadelphia, he's one of the guys that could say will get it done. But the Islanders is just a younger team. They look hungry. They're defensively, I think they've been playing fantastic all playoffs. From all of is seeing the puck excellently. It's hard to beat a hot goalie. So I think the Islanders are going to win the series in 6 just because just when you have a hungry team that's so well coached and playing as well as they are at the right time, like the Islanders are. Unfortunately for the Flyers, it's coming at your expense as a Philly fan, but as a hockey fan, the Islanders are playing truly terrific hockey right now, and it's really a joy to see. And it's really fun to watch them because they look like they're having fun on the ice, which means people watching know that they're having fun and they're putting on a show.
And it's sad because I want to disagree with you so badly, but I can't because we looked terrible out there. And like we're paying like JVR like $7.5 million to be a healthy scratch. We're paying Kevin Hayes to have like $7 million
Yeah.
to have like a muffin of a shot.
And that's
And
the
like
problem. Philadelphia spent poorly attacking. I think they wanted to stay in the conversation of good NHL teams, and they overpaid for a mediocre talent. No disrespect to Kevin Hayes or JVR, but Kevin Hayes clearly isn't getting done. He hasn't gotten done all season.
he's
Uh,
been doing well defensively. He adds solid defensive
Yeah,
two
but
presence.
you could get a lot of
But
guys. Look at a guy who I mention all the time, Zach Hyman. He's getting
yeah,
paid $3 million to do the same thing. He scores goals, but that's not his job. His job is to do all the dirty work in the corners. Get back, check defensively, and he does all that really well.
here's the thing:
And
if we
they
were
need
winning,
more of those guys. I think what you guys expected Kevin Hayes to do, or maybe not expected, but what you paid him to do, is you expected Kevin Hayes to come in, score maybe 30 goals a year, and that's what you kind of expect from a $7 million, around 25. Is that fair? 25, 30
yeah,
goals around that range. Another at least 20, 30 points. He should be around 60, 70 points. And I don't know what he finished with in the regular season. I'd love to fact check that, but I know he's probably not close to 60, 65 points on the year.
no, he's a bit shy on that. But here's the thing: if we were winning games, we wouldn't be talking about
We
how much we pay
wouldn't.
Kevin Hayes. We wouldn't. But the problem is, no one else in the team is doing it in the year. And even though we have great contracts, Konechny and Provorov, who's the future of this team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more proud of Konechny, who has been like he's been an all-star this season. He has disappeared completely in the playoffs. Like I haven't seen anything noble he's done the entire series, both against Montreal and against Islanders. He's done well in the round robin, but at this point, who
The
cares
round
about
robin
that?
means nothing. Yeah.
Yeah,
My final thought on just game 1 and the rest of the series. The way the Islanders are playing, they're just so hard to beat right now. They're flying down the ice, and when you have a hockey team with that kind of confidence and that belief, they know that they're going to win. They believe they're the favorites every game, and when you give them that head start, it's so hard to recover. That game 1 was massive for Philadelphia. That was the game where they could have kind of quieted the Islanders and got some momentum and kind of thrown them off their game, made them regroup. But right now the Islanders are feeling so good. To me, it's going to go 6. Philadelphia is good enough to win at least a game. If they get swept, I'd be shocked.
I say we're good
You,
enough, but I just
you don't see many sweeps in hockey, though. For me, the Islanders in 6, it could go 7. But for me, I think 6 that's exactly the kind of trajectory it looks like it's going on. Islanders probably win game 2. Philadelphia takes game 3. Islanders 4. And it's going to go back and forth like that. But only time will tell. We've seen crazy things in hockey. I wish you luck watching the rest of the series. But we will switch to the other game 1 that has already taken place, Colorado, Dallas. How did you see that game going? What did you like? What didn't you like from the Avs?
I'll be honest. I thought the Avalanche were going to take this in 6 games. By the way they've been playing, I don't think it'll be that way now because they, for some reason, whatever reason, can't stop the Stars forwards and the stop Stars from scoring. And it's not like Colorado has been failing to take chances or to score goals. That hasn't even been a problem. They show no effort to stop Dallas on their end of the ice. And I also think now the way they've been playing, Dallas can take the series and in Colorado, it's still a great team, so I'm not going to say a sweep or anything like that. But I think in game 6 or 7, I'll take it to Dallas now because they've just been playing better hockey overall.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to to the Calgary series. I mean, there's just so much going on. You can't pay attention to everything. But once they went up 2-0, because I'm with you. I thought I watched 2 or 3 of the Colorado series against who they play
Coyotes.
Colorado against the Coyotes, and the Coyotes. No disrespect to them, Colorado's a much better team in that series, and I thought they were just going to carry the momentum. But I watched the way Dallas played against Calgary. They played well, and Calgary's not a bad team. Calgary played a great series, and Dallas is just hot right now. They got 2 good goalies. Ben Bishop when he's in net, obviously the more experienced, better goalie. But I mean, they have a lot of good guys up front. You got Sagan, Jamie Benn. They've been doing it for years. Joe Pavelski joined from San Jose in the offseason, and his experience has been invaluable. We've seen already he scored a hat trick to keep them alive when they were down 2-1. They went on to win that game, and the next 2 after that. But they have a great group of forwards up and down the roster, and they're all chipping in. They're all producing, and they're finding ways to win. And I thought Colorado was going to win the series in 6 or 7. I just thought they're the better team, but I mean, down 2-0, that's not an easy thing to come out of. I still think the series is going 7, but the way Dallas is playing, I think Dallas is going to end up winning the series. All credit to them,
Yeah,
really, all credit to them because they're playing terrific hockey. They got good goaltending. Uh, at the back, they're doing what they have to do, and offensively, they're getting the goals. It's not they haven't been winning because of defense. They've been winning because they've just been outscoring their opponents. So good for them beating Calgary. Great start against Colorado, and this year's could be over by the time we're talking next week again.
yeah. It could be. I think it could be 3-0 by the time this video actually even goes up.
You know what? I think it'll be 2-1. Colorado will win the next game. Mark my words. Anyone listening, Colorado's going to win. I don't know what the score is, but they're going to make it 2-1. They're going to tie it up. Colorado is going to tie the series up. I'm convinced. You know, I kind of want to place a bet on Colorado right now, but I'm not going to. But I do like Colorado to come back in this series. They're too talented, but Dallas is too. So I'm excited to watch those games
Yeah,
because 2 excellent hockey teams that are playing really well at the moment. Colorado, it's time to see what they're made of, right? This
yeah,
is
I completely
what
agree.
This is when you see what kind of championship teams are made of, and is Colorado going to be one of those teams? Yeah. Let's go to the third out of the 4 series going on. And the first game wasn't a very close one. It was 5-0 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights over the Vancouver Canucks. Vegas has been playing well. Um, does this young, fun, excited. I mean, there's a lot of words we can describe Vancouver. They've had a terrific year all around.
Yeah.
But do they have any chance against, I think, the deeper Vegas Golden Knights and the much more experienced?
No, because I think you just said it all. They're deeper and they have more experience, and in the playoffs, that matters. I think Vancouver is a talented team, very talented young team, and I think that they will win 1 or 2 games. I say up to game 5, like Vegas to game 5, maybe 6, but I think it's Vegas to win because, like you said, more experience. The way they've been playing all playoffs has been outstanding, and I can't see them really losing the series.
They haven't put a foot wrong. Vegas is just a really good hockey team. They understand how to win. They know how to win tight. We saw in their first year when they came out of nowhere. Um, and then they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, losing to Washington. We all know that, but they played well against Chicago. They're playing well against Vancouver. Of course, it's early. I think Vancouver can win too, but Vegas in 5 or 6, we'll see. But I mean, credit to Gerard Gallant. What a job he's doing there. I mean, if he leaves Vegas, people are going to be chomping at the bit to sign him. He brings some level of confidence whenever you watch Vegas. I don't think they're ever going to lose with that man behind the bench. So all credit to him, but yeah, with no disrespect to Vancouver, they've had a terrific year, and they'll be even better next year for sure. With Quinn Hughes developing, you have Elias Pettersson, you got Bo Hobart. You have a lot of guys in Vancouver, and there's a lot to mention that are going to just keep getting better. So they're going to be a lot of fun to watch over the next 3 or 4 years, and it's going to be exciting to watch them develop. And Vancouver fans should be excited about the future of their hockey team. It's been a while, probably since they lost to Boston in the finals, where they could finally, say, this is kind of like a core where we could kind of build behind. And and maybe compete for a Stanley Cup in a few years' time. So Vancouver Canucks fans should be excited, and their team plays good hockey.
Yeah, it's one of the
So
fan bases that can, if their team loses in the playoffs, they can still like be positive about it because
yeah,
they
well,
know
I
that
mean
this.
they weren't very positive after they lost the Stanley Cup,
Yeah.
as we all remember. That was well, see, that's just passion. I mean, we see it in European soccer all the time. Just a bunch of fan. I mean, they're all nuts in a year in
But
Europe.
that's a team that was built
But
to win. Right now, the Vancouver's team built to win in a few years. I'd
yeah.
say.
So in Vancouver, yeah, they're probably going to lose this series. I mean, I never say never in sports, but Vegas just looks like they're going to overwhelm and overmatch the Canucks. We will talk finally about probably the most hyped up with the most, I think, star power and the most firepower out of all the series. Boston, Tampa Bay, Atlantic Conference rivals. They've been the two top dogs in that division for a while now. So I'll ask you: Boston is up 1-0. It could we'll know the result of game two by the time this drops, but Boston's up 1-0. No Tuukka Rask. Do they have any chance of winning the series? They're up 1-0. They need three more though. Can they do it?
I think they definitely can. I I don't think they necessarily will, but I do think the games will go seven. I think I don't know. An edge that I give to Boston is that in their history, playoffs have just been better for Bruins than they have for Lightning. But like you said, Tuukka Rask isn't playing for Bruins, and even though Halak has been doing well for them up to this point, I think against like Tampa down a long series is going to show that not having a starting goalie matters. And again, there's nothing more we can say about the talent that they have on Tampa Bay. Like he's the most talented team in the league, and like Boston can definitely match up to that. But I just think that if it goes to seven, Tampa will take seven, but it will go seven. Boston will give them a run for their money.
If there's any team, if this was any team other than Boston, I mean, I'd be saying Tampa Bay and maybe 6-5, just to win without a starting goalie in the playoffs. It's just so hard, and the only team that can pull off is Boston. They're so good, and it doesn't matter. They find ways to win. Pasternak, I think the second best player in the NHL, maybe number one. I mean, McDavid's still Connor McDavid, but Pasternak is just such a special player. He's just so silky on the puck, and he is it's so effortless, whatever he does. And then you throw in Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand. That's one line. You got to deal with the other ones. You got Jake DeBrusk on that line. You got Charlie Coyle. It's up and down. Boston's so good. Zdeno Chara at 76 is still playing. Playing good hockey. It's just so hard to beat Boston. I'm so tired of talking about how good they are. They're so good, and their mentality is second to none. They don't care about anything else. They just want to win, and they just want to beat you. And they find ways to do it. We saw it with Toronto many years. And it almost makes the first round losses less bad when you look at just how good Boston is and how just they're serial winners. They really are. They're just driven to win an entire city. I'm sick of talking about. I don't want to talk about Boston anymore. But all I'll say is I hope Tampa Bay wins 7. And that's my prediction, just because it's so hard to win without starting a goalie. But Boston, I mean, they'll make it. They'll make it interesting series. They always do.
You said with how Halak, he is the backup. It's not really a clear like A and
I mean,
B
he's not
goalie.
like. I
It's like a
mean,
one
I
A
no. I
one
mean,
B.
Tuukka Rask is too. I mean, he's a top 5 goalie, and I mean, I think Yaroslav Halak's probably a top 3 backup,
Yeah,
but he is the worst goalie left in the
yeah,
playoffs when you're looking at all the goalies, and it's by a wide margin. But doesn't matter because Boston will make his life easier. I mean,
yeah,
if he was playing for the Maple Leafs, he'd get up 7 goals a game. But no, not now with Boston. It doesn't matter. I would love to be a goalie for Boston, man. I wouldn't touch the puck once.
yeah.
That's a discussion. We have talked about everything going on in the NHL bubble. Now let's move on to the NBA bubble, where it's been a crazy few weeks. A lot has happened. So let's just talk about let's go through each series one by one and let's talk about what we like, what we didn't like from each game, and kind of break down some of the series that have finished. And we'll start with the series that have finished. There's been a few sweeps, so let's talk about the Raptors sweeping the Nets. No problems for the Raptors, nice and easy. 4 games in and out. Now they play Boston.
I'm in no way surprised about us beating Brooklyn in 4 games. Like I don't know anyone who thought Brooklyn would make a hard series for us. Maybe some people predicted that maybe they'll still win game because like how Orlando took a game from us last year. But regardless, it was kind of like everyone kind of expected Raptors to like, take over. We maybe struggled a little bit in the second game where Brooklyn made close, but like after that it was kind of just a done deal for the Raptors. I'm excited to see how we play against Boston, and I will talk a bit more Boston afterwards against Sixers. But I think Boston is definitely a talented team. They have, I think, more superstars than Raptors, but I just think with the system that Nick Nurse has, we'll definitely take the series 7. And I would say even Raptors can take the series in 7. I think our defense can contain players like Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
I think it's only, and it's hard to call him a superstar yet, but he will be there, and it's Jason Tatum. I think that's the one kind of, that you could say he's a superstar. And there's about, 15 in the league. But I think the rest are all-stars. I think Kemba is a very good all-star. Like, he's kind of on that fringe. He hasn't elevated his game to be a superstar. There's a lot of guys like him, like Donovan Mitchell or Jamal. Like, he's kind of on that level. You're not looking at him as, the best player, on the team, or the guy that's going to be the best player on the team in the finals. But Kemba Walker is a piece you want on your team,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Let me talk about the Raptors first. Good teams win close games, and the one close game they had wasn't game 2. Teams struggle for periods. It happens. Good teams win close games. That's what the Raptors did. So that game wasn't even a concern for me. I knew they were going to win from the beginning. No doubt. Good for the Raptors for closing out Brooklyn that one. But let's talk about game 4. 100 bench points. Like, you can throw stats all you want. Stats aren't everything. But, anyone that looked at that number, I'm pretty sure it's never happened before in the NBA. I think that's an NBA first.
Yeah.
100 bench points. I get, okay, it's against Brooklyn. They don't have this guy, and they no Durant, no Kyrie, no Dinwiddie, okay, I get that. But still, if you're Brooklyn and you just give up 100 bench points, some teams don't score 100 points in a game. God, the Raptors are so deep, and they proved it. They proved how they're going to win games. They're going to win games with their depth, with their skill, and with their defense, and with their high IQ plays. I don't think Nick Nurse for sure hasn't brought out his best. And if you're looking at Boston doesn't have that experience yet of winning big playoff games. So I think the Raptors, I was torn between 6 and 7 because you have 2 good coaches in this series.
Yeah.
We talked about Brad Stevens, excellent coach. Boston has, they have shot makers. Not get it wrong. Boston do have Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown's taking a huge step up. But Boston is not a deep team. You look at that bench. Who's coming off that bench? Brad Wanamaker. He's a decent NBA player, but look at the Raptors bench. You're bringing in my fuzzy chef Serge Ibaka. He's gonna come in. He's gonna put up 15 with 8 boards. You can expect that out of Serge Ibaka. I think the Raptors have the matchup when it comes to centers because I don't think Daniel Tice is going to be able to really score on Marc Gasol. He can't really shoot the 3. He hits maybe 1 3 a game, but Daniel Tice's game is inside, and that's where Marc Gasol excels. We saw it on Joel Embiid last year. When Embiid's shot wasn't falling, he wasn't doing much. So I think Marc Gasol is the edge over Daniel Tice, and so does Serge Ibaka. And the centers can spread the floor. I think Boston's going to have a lot of matchup problems. I think Miami would have been a much bigger challenge for Toronto. So I really think we lucked out getting Boston. I think Toronto's going to win this in 6. I think Nick Nurse knows how to beat this team, and I think he has the players. The question's going to come down to is the backcourt. Is Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet going to be able to shut down Tatum and Kemba Walker? It's going to be vice versa because Lowry and VanVleet, you need a win on the backs of their scoring. You need them shooting well. You need them driving and penetrating and doing and getting all the hard fouls. Kyle Lowry needs to be in the paint taking charges. I mean, he does what I mean, the taking charges and the defensive work that Kyle Lowry does. I mean, you can never question that, and you can never question his heart and hustle. That's always there. The question is, are you going to be able to stop two really talented players developing? One's in their prime, and Jason Tatum is, only getting better. And we'll know that they'll be productive. So I think the way you win or lose a series is going to be the backcourt battle. I think the Raptors have the edge in depth. In the front court with their big men, I think the big men are better. So the question is, are the pair of Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum going to be able to take Boston over Toronto, kind of elevate them? And I can't see that because I'm sure Nick Nurse has a plan to limit their abilities, just like he did last year against Philadelphia and Milwaukee with Giannis.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I said, like I'd take Raptors in like probably 7. And yeah, the key will be trying to like shut down Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. I mean, Jason Tatum, like he is each time he plays, he looks more and more like a young Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time he plays, and I hate saying that as a Lakers fan. I hate saying how the best Boston Celtic looks like a young Kobe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the way it is. He is shown to be so talented. But I think it's one of those things where Celtics, they do have the talent, but Raptors have the depth, and Nick Nurse knows how to utilize that depth.
We could talk about depth, but the depth is talent for the Raptors. They have
Yeah,
talent, and I mean,
that's not to say
we haven't mentioned
Raptors don't have talent.
Siakam. We know what Siakam's going to bring you. OG, if he's on from 3, then Boston really doesn't have a chance because OG's going to lock up Tatum. Not lock up, but I think that's some matchup going to be OG on Tatum.
He's going to be able to limit him.
Probably Lowry on Jaylen Brown and Freddie on Kemba.
Yeah.
But that's the threes, and then you have Siakam inside. You have Marcus. I mean, the Raptors, they have so many matchup problems for you, and the big thing for the Raptors is the way Lowry and VanVleet guard.
Yeah.
For smaller point guards, they get in your face, and they could guard it. They don't only guard point guards; they guard 2s and 3s because they get in your face, and they're so physical and they're quick and they're smart. We talk about Kyle Lowry's defensive IQ, and that's second to none. But Freddie leads the league in steals.
Yeah,
he's about to get paid, Fred VanVleet, because you see the work he's doing. You see what he's doing on the court. I mean, he's improving every day, and I don't think the Raptors are going to lose him because they know how important of a player he is. He's a coach's dream. He does all the little things right. And his IQ, I mean, the Raptors have so many smart players, and that's why they won the championship last year. And they really have it. They should beat Boston because when you look at up and down, who's going to take the big shot and who can win you a game. There's a lot of guys from Toronto that can do that.
And every game Raptors play, you see more and more that the team last year was more than just Kawhi. Even though Kawhi was obviously the best player, like there was a great team around him.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough. It's tough to beat Toronto because of Nick Nurse. And, before I move on this series, I'm just going to say this about Nick Nurse. The 100 bench points that we scored in Game 4 against Brooklyn, that's completely Nick Nurse. That's completely coaching. Okay, did Brooklyn give up a little bit? Yes. But you can't point at one player on the Raptors roster and say he hasn't improved.
Yeah.
Every single player has gone about 10 times better. Look how much better Freddie is than he was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He's a totally different player. Larry.
People aren't talking about Freddie VanVleet like now the way they were a few years ago.
Exactly. But even forget about Freddie VanVleet because his game from last year to this year, that's where the jump is. From whenever he had the kid in the playoffs, he was a backup point guard last year. Now he's a starter, and for good reason. He's about to get paid probably around $30 million a year, wherever. That's discussion for another day. Kyle Lowry playing the best basketball in his career at the age of 34. Marcus Gasol is maybe the one player that's been on the decline from this year to last year, but last year is terrific, and he's had a terrific career. Marcus Gasol he does everything on the defensive end right. Offensively, his shots struggled, whatever. That's not Marcus Gasol's job. Isn't to be scoring 20 points a game. Serge Ibaka, gone a lot better. OG, much better. Norman Powell, playing the best basketball of his life. Terrence Davis, emerging rookie. Great athletic hops. Can they nurture his game to be a productive bench player, maybe a starter in a few years' time? We don't know, but he's taken tremendous strides this year. Am I forgetting anyone else on the Raptors roster? Probably. But Nick Nurse
You
has
mentioned Siakam,
improved.
but there's nothing much more we can say about
Oh, yeah, I
Siakam.
mean,
Absolutely
Siakam.
amazing.
There you go. That's another player he's developed. So, I mean, is there anyone on the Raptors that since Nick Nurse has come in last year, is there anyone that could say they've been worse? No, Nick Nurse makes every single player better. Coach of the year, we didn't even say that yet. Thank God he's coach of the year, because if he
Yeah,
would have
congrats to
lost,
him.
that
He
would have
definitely
been.
deserves it.
There's no question he deserves it. Mike
Yeah.
Budenholzer did it last year, old news. Maybe Billy Donovan, but Nick Nurse. No one predicted the Raptors to be second. Everyone said seventh, eighth, ninth, even. Yeah, suck on that, Raptors haters. That one's for you, Nick Nurse. I love you. Never leave. We've talked a lot about the Raptors. Let's focus on a different series. Milwaukee, Orlando, we'll brush by quick. Let's talk about Milwaukee and the Lakers. Both losing game one, but now up 3-1. How surprising was they lost game one?
I think Milwaukee's was definitely more surprising than the Lakers because I think Portland is a much more talented team than Orlando. But I think and Milwaukee, they haven't, even though they've been
Mm-hmm.
winning, they haven't been looking particularly great this series. I just think maybe they need to really wake up when they face a tougher opponent, though. But I mean, am I worried? Should fans of Milwaukee be worried that they lost to Orlando? No, Raptors lost to Orlando last year and they won the finals. Milwaukee is it's still one of the most talented teams. Giannis is still just a different being completely, and I honestly think that Milwaukee, people are saying, "Oh, maybe this is like a bit of Milwaukee looks so shaky. Maybe it's a sign of they're not going to do too well deeper in the playoffs." I think they'll still give Raptors a run for money. I think it's going to come down to Milwaukee and Raptors still. And as for Lakers, they've been playing better ever since that loss. LeBron kind of had a quiet game too, but game 3 and 4, he has been incredible. He's been the LeBron you think of. He's been the LeBron you think of when you think of the name LeBron James. And people say Lakers outside Davis and LeBron, they have no one really else. But honestly, LeBron's one of those players that can help the rest of his team play better.
I was about to say, if you've been watching Lakers, you just see how many open shots LeBron gets for his teammates
Yeah,
just by driving. And he'll throw it out to the corner, throw it out to the. He creates so many open threes for his teammates
yeah.
that a lot of them have been missing. Caldwell Pope had a good game too, after doing nothing game one.
A triple single game one.
And Danny Green triple single. Danny Green, he's been awfully quiet as he was last year in the playoffs. The problem with the Lakers isn't going to be LeBron or Anthony Davis. It's going to be, can the other guys win you 4 games? No. And here's what I'm going to say about Milwaukee. Milwaukee has not been impressive, even since the restart. And here's what I'm going to say. One of the number one seeds is going to lose in the next round. One of them. And whoever makes it is going to lose the round after. Neither of these number one seeds are making it to the finals. I think Milwaukee's going to lose to Miami. I'm convinced Miami's going to beat that team. The way Miami is the worst possible matchup for Milwaukee, because they give up so many 3-pointers, and Miami has so many 3-point shooters right now that are on fire. Just look at Duncan Robinson. He's going to get so many open threes. And if Milwaukee's game plan is just to completely disregard what they've done in the regular season, what they've been coached for the last 2 years, which is you're not going to score inside, but we'll give you all the threes you want. Miami is going to be like, thank you very much. We'll take all of the threes you want. Giannis is going to have to guard Butler. There's Miami, the way they've kind of set up their roster and the way they've had their rookies, Robinson and Tyler Hero, develop. It's going to be Milwaukee's in for a rude awakening because they have been poor before the lockdown. During the restart, the seeding games, they haven't played well, and against Orlando, they have not played well. They got the job done against Orlando, but look at Orlando. No Jonathan Isaac, no Aaron Gordon. Vucevic, the only threat, really. I mean, okay, you got Fournier, maybe DJ Augustine, but they're not going to put up 20 points a game consistently. The only threat is Vucevic, and he's torching them for 35 points a game. He had 35 in game one. In game three, I think in game two, sorry, when it was kind of cagey towards the end, Vucevic put up 25, I think, 26. He had a big game too as well, and he's the only threat. I don't know why Milwaukee is not stopping Vucevic. I mean, he's a terrific player. I think Vucevic is being underrated in his career because he does a terrific job for the Magic team. He can shoot threes. His mid-range is good inside. I mean, he doesn't have many flaws, but he plays in Orlando, so no one ever talks about him. Vucevic, he's a guy that puts up numbers, and he's, again, a guy that, a coach would just love to have on their team because he plays well. But if you're Milwaukee, I mean, you're struggling against Orlando. I mean, of course you're going to beat them. Look at your squad. You have Giannis. Like, okay. But that game one concerned me because the way they lost, and okay, they got it back. They're going to probably win 4-1. It's not over yet, but it probably will be tonight. Miami's going to beat that team in 7.
I'll say if Milwaukee continues to play the way they do, then definitely it's going to go Miami.
Miami's going to win that. I don't see – Milwaukee is going to get just
if Milwaukee could
beat
turn
up
around
in that series. They're not – Miami, I mean, if you're Milwaukee, sorry, you basically have to abandon everything that you guys have been doing the last 2 seasons. And Eric Spoelstra is a great, again, 2 good head coaches. The top 4 have great, all of them. Spoelstra has been doing it forever. Budenholzer with Atlanta, he was one of the best managers in the league. And now with Milwaukee, you see what he's done. But if you're looking at strengths and weakness, Milwaukee gives up so many 3-pointers. And, I mean, Miami, all they do is shoot threes. You have Goran Dragic, he's playing well. You have the veterans, again, like Iguodala, who they brought in. Miami is a threat, and they will beat Milwaukee, guaranteed, 7 games.
I say 7 games, and I still give the edge to Milwaukee. I think they can pull through. But it's going to be a tough series. Like, it's going to be a hard-fought series, I think.
I love what Miami's doing right now. I love what Miami's doing. And good luck to Milwaukee because the expectation, we know what the expectation is for Milwaukee. Everyone's thinking that they're probably going to win that was the expectation for them to win the championship, at least make the finals, but it's going to be tough for them. Let's segue into a different game and a different series. The Thunder Rockets, they've come back and they've tied this series at 2.
If you remember
what's
last
going on
week,
with Houston?
If you remember last week, I predicted OKC in 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you did too. I think you said you're 7
I think
6.
OKC in 6. I said OKC in 6, yeah.
I still stand by my prediction. I think, I was surprised that Houston won 2 games first. I thought defensively OKC would be able to completely shut them down. And I think they have been doing that in the games 3 and 4. And I think the way they've been playing, I think OKC will continue to thrive throughout the rest of the series. And I think Houston will continue to struggle. I mean, the last 2 games, Chris Paul has been incredible. He's been Chris Paul back in the early 2010s. It's just amazing to watch.
CP3 and the Hornets, a version of CP3,
Yeah.
or even the Clippers version, another version of CP3. But I think
he already has been having a great year.
Yeah, CP3 has been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, but the last 2 games are completely beyond that, and it was just a lot of fun to watch and seeing how him play this way again. And
I mean, what a job he's. Sorry, I'm just gonna cut you off there. What a job he's done individually, not only for just his individual game, but the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has developed.
Yeah,
that's all because of CP3.
Yeah.
And that backcourt understanding and what a perfect situation for Shai to be a part in. He was in the the Clippers. He wasn't gonna get much of a shot. They have so much talent there. Goes to OKC and just plays lights out. He's gonna be a fantastic player for years to come.
Yeah.
Wow, and just he's hitting clutch daggers after in center. Hit one in game 3, just before they went to overtime. They gave him a 1-point lead. Houston misses a free throw, and we know the rest. OKC dominated overtime. But I mean, again, dagger 3 yesterday. So Shai, keep doing what you're doing, and okay. I mean, when you look at the Rockets, sorry, they have James Harden, so you're never going to completely shut down an offense and led by Harden. You're getting 30, 35 points alone out of him. So are they going to live and die by the three? They'll win one more game because Houston, gets streaky. But the question is, are they going to have two good games, really good games where they shoot really well behind the 3-point line, or are they going to have two games like we saw in games 3 and 4 where they were just abysmal from deep?
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for them. Let's talk about another fantastic series going on. Denver, Utah. That's been fun to watch. Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray. Games 2 and 3 weren't very close, but Utah looks like they're going to pull away. They're up 3-1, but what a game 4 that was. Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray both scoring 50 points in a game. And I watched that game from the tip-off. Oh, it didn't look like for a moment either of those players are going to miss. Jamal Murray was on a different planet.
I remember I had a series with Denver taking 7. I thought it was going to be hard for that series. And honestly, right now, it looks like Utah's running away with it. Even though the game 4 was a close game. I just think Donovan Mitchell right now is he's a completely another player. He was already a great player, don't get me wrong. But he is, like, playing beyond that right now. And he is being one of those players that you could kind of turn to and say he could carry a team to playoffs. The only thing is that he doesn't need to carry a team because Utah's still a great team without him. I mean, he obviously need him, but like
Mike Conley's
he's a great
been
team around him.
Mike Conley coming back's really helped them. Helped them in game 3 a lot, and then game 4 kind of just gave them that edge. Jordan Clarkson was terrific in game 4 as well. He was really on. It's no one is really missing on Utah. Or out of their kind of top 4 guys. Mike Conley was hitting shots. Donovan Mitchell all game. Gobert did what Rudy Gobert does, and he frustrates Nikola Jokic. That's his job. And then then you look at Jordan Clarkson, who's been great off the bench. But if they had Bogdanovich, that'd be a really scary team because Bogdanovich,
Yeah,
he's a terrific player that kind of goes under the radar just because of how many good players are in Utah. But that's a roster that's really built. Denver, of course, missing Will Barton and Gary Harris, but Utah's missing Bogdanovich. No excuse in the playoffs. Everyone's hurt. Everyone's playing banged up. So, I mean, credit to Utah. They're playing terrific basketball. They really are. And Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I want to talk about Jamal Murray just because of how good he was game 4. And game 1, he was also terrific. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be a first-round exit for him. But not because of his play. His plays kept them
yeah.
in games. So he's been
It's honestly
so much fun to watch.
it's one of those things where Utah were just better. Denver's
Yeah.
a great team, but Utah just been outplaying them.
Yeah, and they had aspirations Denver, but I think we're seeing if you don't have everything firing on all cylinders for them, they are beatable Denver, and we've seen it in previous years. We're seeing it again this year. So all credit to Utah. They're going to be a big threat going forward. There's a lot of series to break down. Let's go to the Mavericks and Clippers.
This has been an
Wow,
interesting series.
another great series, hasn't it?
I
Yeah.
remember. I don't know if you saw the game 4, but the last shot of Luka Doncic, and I'll be honest. Like I think we predicted. I think all of us predicted like Clippers to take in 6, and honestly, Clippers could still take a series, but I think it's going to 7. I think it was understated how much Doncic can take over a game. I think they will definitely take at least one more game in the series. He has been proving time and time again why he is the future of the NBA. And I mean, even without a healthy team like Porzingis out, it didn't really affect him. I mean, it did affect him, but like it didn't stop them
Yeah.
from winning.
Yeah.
And with the Clippers, like with Paul George playing the way he is, like playoff P, playing like the way he has
Well,
been.
I mean, it's not really playoff P. Oh man, Charles Barkley said it. They don't call him championship Chuck. I butchered that name. But Charles Barkley said it. They don't call him champion Chuck. Paul George, you can't be calling yourself playoff P if all you do is disappear in the playoffs. You're disappearing back, my guy. I mean, no disrespect to Paul George. He's a terrific player, but when you're getting paid that amount of money and when you're expected to do a job that you're just failing at, most people get fired if you perform badly in your job. Paul George is going to collect $30-40 million, but he's playing horribly right now, and he seems too busy, trolling people on social media. He doesn't seem focused on his game right now. And I mean, like any game he could flip a switch, put up 40-50 points. You never know in the NBA, but just
Yeah.
that's kind of talent he is. But yeah, playoff P, that's not a thing right now. If you watch him play, I mean, he's really the reason why the Clippers haven't won the series yet.
Yeah. And I mean, Kawhi, they still have Kawhi, so even while Paul George playing well, they're still gonna play. The team will still win games, even with Paul George playing like that. But it's gonna also come down to one player on either team and how well that team supports this one player. So it'll either be Doncic or Kawhi.
Yeah, Kawhi's been great, and usually it's good enough against a 7 seed, but this isn't any ordinary 7 seed. They've had a lot of injuries. The West is good, but yeah, Luka Doncic he's gonna end up as the best white player ever, without a doubt. I mean, like this, I've never seen a white kid play like this ever.
I mean, we haven't seen
I haven't
Larry
been
Bird.
alive. I haven't been alive long. Larry Bird, terrific player, but Luka Doncic, he's gonna blow his career numbers out of the water. He just wins, Luka Doncic, and he does everything so well. How do you stop him? It's a step back three. I mean, I could ask why Kawhi Leonard, Paul George wasn't defending him, but I mean, the big question is Luka Doncic hit that shot, and can Dallas win the series in 7? Look, the Clippers are probably going to pull through because that's what champion teams do. But I can't wait to watch the rest of the series because it's going to be a good last few games, whether it's 2 or 3 games. If you're a sports fan and you don't watch it, man, I hope you got something going on in your life because it's going to be so much fun to watch those 2 games, man. I haven't been this excited for an NBA series in a long time. The Clippers and Mavericks, they're Luka and Kawhi just provide that spark, and Kawhi is kind of that he's been there, he's done that. We're getting Kawhi Leonard. Just watching him work and just watching him in game, watching everything he does. It almost is robotic. People call him robot. He doesn't really show emotion, but I mean he's just automatic when he hits that little turnaround J. He'll move off that pivoted foot. Hit it over the defender. He's just so long, and he's so good at what he does. And when he hits that little mid-range 20-foot jump shot, there isn't stopping it. There's no way of stopping it because there's just some shots you can't defend.
Yeah.
And Kawhi and Luka, they're gonna go back at it again tonight. We'll see how the series plays out. But I don't want to predict it because it's just so much fun to watch, and I'm just gonna enjoy watching every minute of it.
Completely agree with you on that.
We're going to make one final discussion before we end this podcast today. We're going to move to the NFL, where Earl Thomas was cut by the Ravens for something that happened in-house, we believe. We don't know for sure. But Earl Thomas is now a free agent. Dallas was rumored at first. Now it looks like he's not going to Dallas. I would have been happy if I'm going to Dallas. I thought that's the piece they needed. But Jerry is being Jerry Jones. I'm sure he has reasons, but I don't see it. He's still a terrific player, and you could talk about what you've seen watching him week in and week out on the Ravens, because I'm sure you've kept a close eye on him. You sad to see him go. What are your thoughts on him being cut?
Here's the thing. Of course, he's a talented safety, and I was thrilled when we signed him, and everybody else thrilled when we got him, and he's been terrific for our secondary. Is it sad to see him go? Of course, you never like to see talent leave your team, but I don't think it affects Ravens' defense too negatively. I think Ravens have one of the best defenses in the league, and the way it's built allows our younger defense players to still thrive. And I think it's in the long run it'll be beneficial because there's been reports that he has not been getting along with players, and in every team you need that camaraderie to like kind of work with the team chemistry and to like not to be able to function properly as a team. And if he was causing problems to the team, then I think it maybe, as much as I hate to say it, I think it was probably for the best.
Yeah, Earl Thomas has been a terrific player. Undersized for his position, but his heart. I mean, you could never question his desire and his heart on the field because, I mean, if you just watch some of his hits, man, just his play recognition. I mean, if you love watching safeties just blow up NFL receivers, he does it so well. And I don't know where he's going to end up. Apparently Cleveland's a rumored destination. Someone's going to pick him up. From what I've seen, there just hasn't been like a rush. People trying to get Earl Thomas, which is surprising because I still think he has a lot to offer. But we'll see where he ends up. There's not too much to say on Earl Thomas just because there's not much that we know yet. We don't know kind of what happened internally, and I'm sure
I
we'll
feel like when
never
the
know.
reports come out, people will see why people aren't
Yeah,
really rushing
there's
to it. Because like
obviously,
with Antonio Brown, people weren't really rushing to
yeah,
sign
yeah,
him because of
yeah,
all he
yeah.
did.
Yeah, but Baltimore, is a smart organization, and they don't make any rash decisions. So I'm curious to see kind of what happens and kind of what we see. But I'm not too worried about it. We'll see where he ends up. Terrific player, and it's kind of, I guess, a little NFL piece today, just because kind of involves both our teams. Baltimore definitely involves you, and Dallas is
Yeah.
kind of the rumored destination, and I'd love to see him
I remember there
Dallas.
were rumors that Ravens were trading Earl Thomas to Dallas.
Yeah, so we'll see where he ends up. Whoever gets him is gonna get a terrific player, and I'm sure he's gonna sign for a contending team because he's all about winning. Earl Thomas, he never played on a bad team in his life, so I'm sure he'll take probably less money to sign for a better team than go to a team like the Jets and lose
Yeah.
for 6 years. Anyways, before we end our podcast, I think there's an important discussion we need to have. We've seen two separate incidents, one involving sports, one completely off the sports radar. We'll start, I guess, with Masai Ujiri. We saw the footage from the officer. I forget his name, but the officer's body cam, and we saw that clearly the officer instigated it. And again, it's an issue of racism, nothing else.
Yeah, it's definitely just been out pure racism because there's no way about it. Anyone who has eyes and like knows the distinction between right and wrong knows that what the officer did to the side was wrong. And it's a sad thing because yeah, a lot of people are kind of to support his side and saying like people are wrong to accuse him of this, but the only reason why he's like gaining this much attention and this much praise is because of his status now as president of an NBA team. But if you see around the world, so many other African Americans are being
Yeah, look,
oppressed, and
yeah, most African Americans aren't the president of the Toronto Raptors. I
yeah,
mean, there's so many I mean, and there's so many situations, and I mean, you look at kind of like the street. And the rap culture has basically emerged. I mean, they're just speaking on what they've seen in life, and I mean, there's just so many people. I mean, you look at Compton, look at the streets of Atlanta, man, Chicago, the south side of Chicago. And I mean, there's probably so many cops getting away with whatever they want there. But I mean, yeah, I mean, we're gonna switch into the incident that just happened the other day with Jacob Blake, the black man that was shot 7 times in the back by a police officer when there's 3 officers around him. I'm sure we'll see, more details about the story in the next few days. It's again the big one. It's the biggest issue since George Floyd, and rightly so. I mean, I'm going to say this about the cop. You have to be the biggest, dumbest piece of shit right now to be doing that. Pardon my language, but I just don't care. I mean, we've seen what's happened. We've seen the movement, and as a cop, you're gonna go out and shoot an unarmed man 7 times in the back because he's black. Come on, like it's the same old story, and it's really it's a problem that exists around the world, but it's so centered in America. In America, it's the big. It's not even. It doesn't compare to other countries. Like Canada, I get this systemic racism, and I get this racism. In a lot of in every country. Not every, but a lot of countries. You understand what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
And
A lot of diverse countries, there will be this racism.
but America, like in the age of social media, like you're really gonna try to do that? Like you're really gonna be? I mean, why even a cop, man? I mean, if he's not arrested and put in jail for the rest of his life, that cop, something's wrong with America. And I don't even know what's going on with the George Floyd. I don't think I don't know what I don't think they've even been prosecuted yet. I mean, I think they're sitting in jail right now. Well, I mean, they have to be. Imagine they weren't. What would be going on in America right now? But it's just this something. There's something bigger in the world than what's going on in your life sometimes. And I think we're really realizing that over the last few months since the pandemic, and now kind of this issue, and that now we have the platform of social media to really expose a lot of these issues.
And
The fact that
also,
it still exists even after the movement we had, and we saw that video. Sorry for cutting you off, but it's just it's unbelievable.
and I mean, like, the sad part is like it's always been like this, and like it's not even like surprising, like what's happening. Like we're shocked that like it's like this brutal and this bad, but at the end of the day, we're like, well, of
I'm not
course
gonna
it
say I'm
happened.
being
Like
surprised. Yeah, what am I
it's
gonna do? Sit here and act shocked? No, it's been happening, and probably it happened again today. We just don't know about it.
yeah, it's
I
like
mean, cops protect each other. I mean, of course they are, but it's just how are we hiring so many racist cops in America? I don't know. There shouldn't be any, but unfortunately,
yeah, and
I'm lost for words. That's all I'll say about that situation. I'm just lost for words of how people think they can act the way they do and get away with it, especially with so much technology around them now. I mean, I hope all these people get exposed. I really do, but I
honestly,
mean,
this should also be
the world's a cruel place.
it should be a wake up call for people who say like who don't support like, the movement and say
Oh,
like
for
yeah,
sure.
you can't look at this and say that there's no reason why people are supporting Black Lives Matter because you see it right now. Like,
You would just have to be such an ignorant asshole to be saying that
yeah,
right now. You really would. I mean, there's no excusing. I mean, if you're not, aware to the situation at this point, if you weren't aware after George Floyd, I'm hoping you're aware after Jacob Blake, man. And there's so many names I don't have time to discuss because there's just, I mean, we'd run out of time. We'd run out of hours of the day talking about this. So I'm hoping that we find a solution. America finds a solution. Unfortunately, there's just corruption from top to bottom. But this is a sports podcast, but it felt so important to get this out today because it's just
it's such a big
it's
issue.
been too
It's
long,
beyond
and
sports, honestly. Like,
if
it's
anyone sees it, I hope, I mean, and I hope they know what people are suffering through right now because
yeah,
they have to. It's just you can't not be aware of this anymore.
completely agree with you on that.
A bit of a strange end to 5-5 Sports, but a necessary end this week. Join us next week where we'll be back. We drop every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So if you like what we're doing, keep connected. Drop a comment. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. We have to hear from you guys. Other than that, take care, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening.